vichara nanda smita rupanugamat sampragyatah. So the initial stage of yogic accomplishment is sampragyata type of meditation that consists of movement of mind from gross to subtle, from the object of senses, the instrument of the cognition of the various objects of senses, as well as the main agent who the enjoyer himself, who enjoys the objects of senses, including all that, one who proceeds from the gross forms to subtle forms. For example, the initial point of meditation, one may have some form, whatever form he is devoted to, because in Gita chapter 7 it has been specially pointed out, yo yang tanum bhakta shraddhayarchitumicchati tasya chalang shraddham tameva vidadhamyaham. So if somebody is a devotee of Vishnu, the four-armed Vishnu, so he should start with his meditation on the full form of Vishnu, including those four arms. And then that will come to vitarka, and then go on eliminating some of the constituents of the gross form. For example, he should, after some time, he should meditate on only the head of Vishnu, and so on and so forth. And then at the end he should meditate on just some light, and in the end it should be niralambana. There should be no alambana. So that is why it is called sampragyata samadhi, that is vitarka, vichara, ananda and asmita nugamat sampragyata. So vitarka is the gross form, and vichara is the beginning of the subtle form, and ananda is the stage of asmita, ahankara. So one identifies himself with asmita, and after asmita, then he becomes one with himself. Then ananda comes, So it is Grahita, the one who meditates. So that is how to um, meditate on something gross in the beginning and proceed from grossness to subtleness or subtleties slowly and gradually. That is called Sampragyata Samadhi. And even there are several stages which will be explained later on. So Vitarka Vichara Nanda Smita Rupa Nugamat Sampragyata. And that Sampragyata also is to be left behind, and one has to go to Sampragyata. Virama Pratyayabhyasa Purva Samskara Sheshunya. So there should be a thoughtless state. To accomplish a thoughtless state of mind, that is asampragyata samadhi. Virama pratyayabhyasa purva samskara shesha. And in that samadhi, the only mental impressions of the past are there. But there is nothing there. So when the mind becomes completely, absolutely thoughtless, so that is the beginning of asampragyata samadhi. But one has to continue this abhyasa. One must not feel contented with a little bit of abhyasa for some time and coming to the stage of prakriti. That is no good. So the second sutra, the next sutra says, Bhava pratyayo videha prakritilayanam. The sutra 19 reads that Bhava pratyaya. So those who, while practicing, when they reach the stage of the balanced gunas, that is prakriti. Prakriti is nothing but a state of balanced gunas. So when one reaches the state of the balanced gunas, that is to say, through the process of pratyahara, when one reaches the state of balanced gunas, one may have the impression that I have done my job now and I am an accomplished yogi. But he is not. That Prakriti Laya, one who has reached the state of absorption of the mind in Prakriti, that is a good progress. That is a postgraduate degree in Samadhi, no doubt. But one has to go a little further. One has to go much further rather. And one of the semi-final state of Samadhi is the Prakriti Laya. That is, through the process of Pratyahara, the objects of senses to the respective sense and motor organs, sense and motor organs to the mind, mind to ahankara, ahankara to the mahat or buddhi, and from buddhi to prakriti. So if you rest there and you think that you do not need any further practice, and you have reached the stage of your absorption to the stage of prakriti, where all the gunas are in a balanced state. But if you give up your practice at that stage, then it is bhava pratyaya. That is, you are likely to be caught again by the forces of allurement of the objects of senses. Because even the frogs in the rainy season, they think that after the rainy season is over, they become one with clay and they think that they are liberated. But again, when the rainy season comes, the appropriate season comes, they come again and they start croaking. So similarly, if one is satisfied after reaching the stage of the balanced state of gunas, that is prakriti, so one is likely to be caught by the forces of allurement of the world at the appropriate season. And similar is the case with videhas. There is a specific divine species who have no body at all. So because they have no body, so they think that they are liberated yogins. But it is not, they are not. They too, when the appropriate situation comes, they will be caught by the allurements, worldly allurements, when the appropriate occasion arrives. So bhava pratyaya for videhas and bhava pratyaya is for prakriti layas. That is why bhava pratyaya. That bhava pratyaya means that they are likely to be allured by the various forces of allurements, various forces of worldly allurements, as soon as the proper allurementing situations come. And others, the yogis who start practices, who continue repeating their practice, so their effort continues. And how does that effort continue? Shraddha, Virya, Smriti, Samadhi, Prajna. These are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 5 elements are there in their practice. The first is Shraddha, that is faith, that is a must. And that has been stated even earlier. Dirghakala Nairantarya Satkara Sevita Dridabhumi. And the same thing is repeated here. The first element is Shraddha. So Shraddha should be there. And Shraddha gives rise to, Shraddha strengthens the capacity to meditate. So Shraddha and Virya, and the strong capacity leads to the development of good memory, Smriti. And that Smriti, that the power of memory, that leads to Samadhi, accomplishment of Samadhi. And when the Samadhi is accomplished, it will say, one of the sutras will tell us that Nirvichara Vaisharadye Dhyatma Prasada Ritambhara Tatra Prajna. So one develops a special type of wisdom, Ritambhara Prajna. That is, if your Samadhi is well accomplished, then you develop a type of wisdom that will see only the truth. There will never appear anything otherwise. Nothing false will appear in the very wisdom, in the very intellect. So it will be Ritambhara Prajna. So the others who continue their practice even after Prakriti Laya, and those, all of them, they continue their practice until fully well established in their own form. Tada drashtuhu swarupe avasthanam. That is the final goal of yoga. That is, until the self is well established in his own form. So one has to continue along with, as stated earlier, for a long time, uninterrupted long time, and faithfully, with appropriate strength, appropriate power of memory, appropriate everything, appropriate wisdom, and everything should be there, and one should continue until one is fully well established in his own form. That ends Sutra 20.